Chain. I'm the Gallery and Events Manager at Broome County Arts Council's Artisan Gallery. Artisan Gallery has become the go-to place for every first Fridays since our opening in October 2018. This month, we are launching our first virtual exhibition, Art Connects Us All, featuring 4 artists from our past exhibition who works in very different disciplines or styles, but whose work present the same vitality through vibrant colors, light and shadow, composition, structure, and theme. So at today's Art and Dialogue, we have artist Scott Yurko. Scott, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Jenny. It's great to be here.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background, how your training or experience might affect your choice of medium, the way you create, what you create, as well as subjects that you're drawn to?
Sure. I started painting pretty early in high school, and that led me to get a bachelor's degree in illustration in college. I painted in college. Shortly after, I got into the Scenic Artists Union. And what we do all the painting for movies, television, and theater. So that's been that's been the major part of my last 25 years, is just working in that industry. But I've kept up painting in oils mostly throughout the years. And now that with coronavirus and time off, and it looks like there might be an end to theatrical work right now, I've really focused on painting again and learning the medium to the degree that I want to. And every time I do a painting, I learn more about painting itself, about oil. So it's been fantastic.
What is different or new, do you think, like for this show compared to your last one with Artisan, or are these two somewhat connected?
Well, before coronavirus, I mean, I was very interested. The connection that I have in painting is with the subject matter. So the last show that I did for the gallery was all portrait paintings. And in doing that, when you're painting a person, it's not just a copy of that person. You want to encapsulate some of the characters of that person and their being. And with coronavirus, it's not possible. You can't interact with a person. I mean, I can do paintings from photographs, but it's not the same. So nobody knows how long this is going to last. I didn't know how long I'd be out of work. So it's tough to paint and have that energy when you can't interact with people. And I didn't realize it until now, until I actually can't. So what I've been doing is just catching up on old paintings that I've started, that have been in my studio, and I've been working on those. But I'm very much jonesing to get out and be with people again and paint, because you want to paint the feelings that they're feeling, not just an image of their head.
Right.
So that, at this point, I'm kind of finishing up paintings in the studio and hoping that things are going to open up so I can get back to interacting. It's tough to connect at this point. I'm sure you understand.
Yeah, that's so true. I believe like all of us are kind of waiting for that time to reconnect with everyone again. It's just such a special time right now, and like all these, we have to do like virtual exhibition, but we still want to make sure that people can see what we are doing. So why don't you tell us a little bit of how your creative process work? Maybe like talk about 1 or 2 of your paintings from this exhibition, like where the inspiration come from. Do you work at your studio or do you work outside? So why don't you tell us a little bit of that?
Sure. Usually my first degree was in photography. So usually that's a basis for me to start. I'll see a person or an image or a place that really strikes me. And then I start with photographing it or interacting with it if it is a person. And that's true in, for example, Mangold's Irises, the large painting that I have in this show. That they're my neighbors. They live up the street, and I was going by their house one day. It was after a rainstorm, and the sun was coming out, and it was breaking through the trees and just illuminating these irises that were in their front yard. It was beautiful. And that's the starting point. I mean, that was not the painting, but I photographed that and I worked with that and I did sketches and elaborated on that to create a piece that I thought had a lot of movement in it and a lot of feeling in it, and that sort of calm, peaceful after the rain feeling. And I love the fact that the light was coming through those trees and illuminating the iris. You know, they're transparent and translucent. It was beautiful. So that was the origin of the beginning of that painting.
That's really beautiful. It's like you're waiting for something good to happen, like after the rain, and then there's like maybe a rainbow coming out. It's kind of like how we're feeling right now, waiting for that day to come.
You have to be ready when it gets there. You know, as
Yeah.
an artist, as a photographer, you have to be ready all the time. If you see something as a photographer that's just beautiful, if you're not ready, you miss it. So I'm constantly watching and being ready for an image that touches me, that I feel like I can put my spin on it and hopefully be able to touch somebody else, you know, as a viewer.
I see. So it sounds like you are always like ready to find materials for your work, your creation. You probably like being ready to snap a shot anytime, and it will be later turned into a painting.
Absolutely. Before cell phones, I was the guy that always carried a camera. I had a camera on me all the time. Now everybody does. It's kind of a moot point, but you never know when something is going to inspire you that you say that's going to make a great painting. And that's the origins for me. That's the start.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another piece that I have in this show called Commuter Dating. And that was, you know, I live in the country right now. I still work in the city and I interact with people in the city. And at that point, it was somebody I was dating, and she was, you know, she had taken a photograph. She was waiting on a train platform. She had taken a photograph of the sunlight coming through and casting a shadow of the other people on the wall. And I thought that in itself was a beautiful photograph, but it was a great starting point for me to elaborate on and to lead into the painting called Commuter Dating.
Very nice. And it's yeah, and then you add arrow onto that realistic photo, right? Kind of twist it a little.
It wasn't the plan at the beginning. I just started painting, and then I just felt like there was this movement with the people, and everybody was going somewhere, and they're interacting. They're connected, but they're not interacting. And it just felt like the arrow just made sense. It just felt like a movement, and it just created a unique painting.
Mm-hmm. So since you talked about how that photo originally had that light and shadow, that kind of brings us to my next question for you. I kind of feel like the use of light and shadow is pretty consistent throughout your paintings, whether it's a portrait, a still life, a landscape, or a building. Is there anything particular about it, or does it mean anything special when you're doing in all your paintings?
You know, as an artist, I think that we constantly grow and change all the time. And like I said, I started out as a photography student, and that was my first degree in photography. And I studied with a man who studied with Ansel Adams, and he taught me a lot about the beginning of photography, the origins of photography. And Ansel was to make a great photograph, he felt like there should be a pure black and a pure white in the photograph, and as many, you know, and all the gradations in between. So I've always had that in my head. And now, you know, I paint with such color now, but I always try to have a pure black and a pure white in the painting. And I use the color in such a way to bring things forward or to push them back in space. Sort of elaborating on the photography, really.
Mm-hmm. And I also noticed like a lot of your work, there's glow all around the subject, especially like portrait or sometimes like still life. You can see there's like traces of lines that kind of glow beyond around it. Does that also have a special significance?
To me, that's very much the energy, the aura that whatever the object is I'm painting that they give out, whether it's a person. I mean, I see people, and certain people, you've seen it, they have a certain really positive energy or really negative energy, and you can see it, you can feel it. It's tactile almost. And so when I see that, I absolutely try to elaborate on it. It takes them to another place. It shows you more than just the person itself. It shows you their energy. And you know, I find it in in paintings of flowers, in the paintings of portraits, even in paintings of buildings and landscapes. You know, everything is alive, everything has an energy. And when I feel it, sometimes it's from a person, sometimes it's from a tree, but you know, it's there, and it's definitely tactile. I can touch it, I can feel it, and to me, I want to try to show somebody else what I'm seeing. So that's why I try to push that in my paintings, no matter what the subject matter is.
Right. So it sounds like that definitely kind of like show us how your art help you to connect with others. Like you can instinctively kind of feel like what the energy this the person that you're encountering has. So how do you feel like other could be able to relate to your art?
Well, I definitely feel that energy. If I don't feel that energy from the subject matter, I'm probably going to walk on by and find something else. When I feel that energy, I feel like there's something special about that. And as an artist, I want to try to elaborate on that and push that feeling so that when I have a finished painting and somebody looks at it as a viewer, they don't need me there to explain to them what it is. They can just see the power and the energy that I saw, hopefully, and they can feel what I felt. And if I can convey that, then I did my job.
Can you share us like maybe a little story, like um, maybe your like anyone who had your painting, or maybe when they see your painting, like is there any story that you can share with us?
In regards to a reaction to my paintings,
Yeah, like how they kind of like connect to it, or what was their reaction?
you know, I've been painting a lot of people. I've recently finished a piece of my grandnieces and nephews, and the ultimate compliment that I got was when I showed the piece to somebody else who knew the children. They all said, "Oh my gosh, you got the personality of each person in that painting. Each one of those kids, I know them. That's the kid." And to me, that's where I feel success as an artist. That's what makes me happy. If I can make somebody else happy. There was a gentleman that I worked with at the Met, and he was living in Atlanta, but he was coming to New York to work, and he was away from his family. And he was tall. He was like 6'6", big guy, tough guy. And I said, well, perhaps I could do a painting of your wife, and it would be really nice. And he said, well, if you wanted to, I'd really love you to do a painting of my children. And I said, okay, you know, I would do that. I said, well, how many do you have? And he said, 3. So I did this very nice painting of his children. When I brought it to him, he just started crying. You know, he was so happy. And I know how much that painting meant to him. And I know he'll have that painting for the rest of his life. And for me, that's why I do it. That's why I'm here. It's not about the money. It would be great to make money as an artist, but it's not the reason I do it. I do have a job that supports me so that I can continue to make art. Be great to make money at art, but that's definitely not my motivation. If I can make somebody else happy, I'm going to make a painting.
Wow, thank you for sharing that story. I believe that's really something what everyone's looking for. Either it's the painter or the patron, like you want to be moved by a moment, and that's a long-lasting effect that we're looking for.
If I can be moved and I can show you how I've been moved and you understand just by looking at my painting, that's what I'm doing this for.
Thank you for sharing that, Scott.
You're
So
more than welcome.
thank you. This virtual exhibition, Art Connects Us All, is available on Broome County Arts Council's website under Artisan Gallery's page. We will have a viewing room available, so go check on broomearts.org. And the on-view dates is June 5th through August 29th. If you have any question on any particular artwork, or you want to learn more about the artist, please email us at artisangallery@broomearts.org. Thank you again, Scott. It was
Thanks so much, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.